Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you all the stash busting projects I did in 2025. Now, I really love making hats, so I actually only made 5, which is pretty good for me because I do like making hats. And the first one we've got is this banana hat, and also any tutorials I used to make anything will be listed down in the description below. But yeah, I made this banana hat, and the yarn I used to make this was Karen Simply Soft in gold. Okay, next up I made a hexagon beret. I think this is super cute. And I'm just mentally preparing for my hair to look absolutely terrible by the end of this video. But yeah, it's so cute. And the yarn I used to make this is Stylecraft Highland Heathers in Whiskey and Karen Simply Soft in Victorian Rose. Next up is the more like true scrappy projects. So I made 2 cat hats using entirely scrap yarn. Here's the first one. And what I really like about scrappy projects is just not weaving in the end, because I think it gives a really cute texture. And I did make 2 of these because I really like them, and I'm going to give one of them to my mum. They're so silly. I love it. And then this next one is by far my favourite. This was so fun. I got to use up all of my green scraps. I've got little dangly bits, got some leaves, got to use up some little scrappy bits of fuzzy yarn, and then I also made these little mushrooms as well. I just love it so much. I need somewhere to wear it. Any suggestions? Okay, so next up is just other kind of general headwear. And first, I've got this super cute red hood. It's kind of pointy. And it's so cute. I used 2 different yarns for this. I don't know exactly which ones. The thinner kind of light red yarn, I have no idea. I think it came in like a random yarn bundle thing. And the red, I want to say, Winterberry. What is it? Yeah, I think it was the Signet Chunky in Winterberry for the main sort of dark red of this, and I can't wait for winter. And next up, I also made something using that kind of lighter red that was in my hood. I think is the same one. Yeah. But this one I just used it by itself, and this was a really interesting yarn because it kind of varied on its sort of weight and texture throughout, which I think gives a really nice effect. Yeah, this is just a little simple bandana. Okay, next up is this super cute headband I made. This yarn is one of my favourite yarns I've ever worked with just because of how funky it is. It's the Signet Super Chunky Metallics in Champagne. I've got a little puff star, a little flower embroidered and a swirl. I got to use up a lot of my funky buttons. And then what I did for the ties is I did the puff stitch. That way, in order to tie it, you don't need to do a bow because the puffs kind of attach to each other, which then makes a really easy release. Because sometimes I get a bit anxious having something like tied around my neck. You know, and I get a bit claustrophobic, then trying to undo it, it's kind of, ooh. But this comes apart super easy. Yeah, I just freehanded this one, and I think it's so cute. Next up is just these headbands. I used the Star Stitch And I've got this one, a bit of a thicker one, and then a thinner one. Super cute, super easy headbands. Now these last three in the hairwear category, couple are unfinished. I've got this nice chunky star, and this is in the Bernat Softy Chunky in the colour Brass. You might see this yarn quite a lot this episode. But yeah, just a little hair clip. And then again we've got that Bernat Softy Chunky in Brass, and then just a random brown yarn. And what I really want to do with these is add hair combs, and kind of so I can tie up my hair like that, and then I don't know how well you can see that, but I think that'd be really cute. And then I also have this carrot one, and I think this is a Bernat Softy as well. Yeah, except this one is in the colour pumpkin, and then this is I can't remember the colour of this yarn. But yeah, that's going to be so silly. Okay, next is a super quick category because I only made two, and that is tops. So I'll insert some clips or images of me wearing them just so you can get a clearer idea. But what we've got here is I made this little summer top using granny squares. So kind of granny squares on the cups, and then kind of half granny squares here, and then also at the backs here. These are really, it's so cute. I entirely free-handed this top, and I was very impressed with myself because it came out so cute. Now, moving away from the summer vibe a little bit, I have my first crochet jumper that I've made. It's so cute. Now, the yarn I used to make this is a really chunky dark grey yarn, and I had 3 massive balls of them originally. I had sort of 2 untouched, and I had about half of the other one when I started this that I got years and years and years ago, I think from my aunt. I've managed to hold on to it this whole time, and now I have this super funky unicorn jumper. And the grey I used for the unicorn, it's the James C. Brett Chunky Marble in Humbug. Yeah. Next up we have accessories. So I've got here some just cute simple leg warmers. And these were the Cedar Jewel Spun Golden Green. It's a really beautiful yarn. And next up, we've got these super cute fingerless gloves using Love Heart Granny Squares. And I just think they're so beautiful. Yeah. So the yarn I used for this was Karen Simply Soft, I think in Autumn Red. Yes. Autumn Red, and then this grey yarn is that James C. Brett Humbug that I mentioned earlier. The summer is killing me. I can't wear all the cute stuff I've made. Okay, so next up we have some earrings. Ooh, I've got these Jammy Dodger earrings. They are so adorable. And then here's a couple that I free-handed. I've got a couple of stars. The swirl, I absolutely adore this colour combination of this light green and the dark purple. I think it's so cute. And also, these are so silly, I made stuffed olive earrings. Because they're so silly. Now, this category is probably my favourite, and it's handbags. I really love making hats, but I really, really love making handbags. First off, we have this bag that shows how much time I spend on Pinterest. We have this apple bag. It's so cute. I feel like I'm going to say that a lot this episode. Please ignore that. But I freehanded this one as well. I just kind of did circles, and then at the bottom I just did a few extra stitches here to kind of make a slight apple shape. And then I added a little leaf and also a teeny tiny worm. And then what I also did is I lined this using fabric from a vintage pillowcase. Next up I have this bag. Now this one isn't totally finished yet because I still need to add a button kind of here to hold this down. And yeah, I need some flowers and this like butterfly with a little flight path. I'm going to try and find the image that I took inspo from. I saw it on Pinterest. So if I find that, I'm going to add it here as well. So for this I used, let's have a look. I used the Unknown King Cole yarn. I think this was a King Cole yarn. I spent ages trying to figure out what it was. I think this was a yarn I bought in person, so I couldn't look at like my online purchases. But then we've got the Stylecraft special in pistachio, that's this colour, and then the Signet Aran in heather, which is that dark purple, and I really like this yarn. It's so pretty. I really love this colour combination. So I'm really excited to finish this. I need to add a button, and then I also do need to line it. But I think it's going to be so pretty. It's a perfect spring bag. Unfortunately, I did not have it fully ready for spring, but maybe next spring. Next bags I made were Japanese knot bags. I found a really nice tutorial on YouTube. I'll link that below. And I made this one. This is out of that Sidar Jewel Spun that I mentioned earlier. And I think this bag really is able to kind of show off the beauty in its variegation. I really like making kind of simple items for yarn that has, a really beautiful colour variegation, just because I think it allows the yarn to be the kind of the showstopper. But at the same time, it's a very simple, but it's a very funky shape and pattern. So I really love it. I'll probably end up going to make more. And I lined it with this really nice navy polka dot cotton. Yeah, it's just, I really recommend this pattern. It is such a really it's a really beautiful, sophisticated, cute little bag. I love it. Now, because I love that pattern so much, I did make another one. This one's a little bit smaller and a little maybe sillier. So I use this really chunky sort of net yarn. This was another one that was sort of in a random bundle, so I'm not sure what yarn it actually was. And then I ran out of that, so to finish it, I just mixed a couple of brown yarns, and I'm still not 100% sure on this, kind of mixing sort of more warmer tones with cooler tones, but I still think it's pretty cute. It's got a little bit of sparkle in there, and I did add a little bow as well. Yeah. Now, for these next two bags, you'll be able to tell I had quite a lot of fun making them. It's so adorable. So I use lots of different purples here. We have a big chunky yarn here at the bottom. This is the King Cole Big Value Chunky in Claret, and then I used two different purples together to finish it off. And then I got a nice big chunky bow. This is in that Bernat pumpkin yarn, and there's the kind of more gold colour. I got to use up a lot of funky buttons and beads and stuff on this. I did a little whimsical star on the back, made flowers, little tiny bows and stuff, and then I did make bag charms for it. So this is the kind of that chunky metallic yarn I made the headband with. I really love it. I think this was the last of it. I used the last of it making this just little puff stitch bag charm. and then crocheted around a little jump ring there just to make it a little nicer. And then I kind of made a string of different buttons and beads. I did this big funky button here, the little of this very, very fuzzy light blue yarn. And then I used these little charms that I made out of polymer clay that I just had lying around. I had no use for them. I thought this would be perfect. And then I also crochet this little jester guy. Now I'm going to try and link below the inspiration for this. I've seen quite a few of these floating around Pinterest, but I'll link the one that I saw and I think might be the original. So yeah, I just kind of put my own take on it and I just made this silly little jester guy. He's so cute. The last bag I made was an entirely scrap project, and you'll be able to tell. This was so much fun. I was just using any little amounts of scrap yarn that I had. I've got a big bag of very small bits of yarn that I use for stuffing amigurumi and things like that, but I managed to use some of the longer pieces in there just into this bag. Again, I used lots of buttons and beads. I put all these little beads I've had from my childhood. They've just been stuck in a jar for many years, so I'm so happy I've actually been able to use them. I've got some little kind of doilies here that I found in a charity shop, bits of scrap denim, just made another swirl star, and then on the side here I kind of made a free form crochet piece and then sewed that on as well, just to give more texture. And then I made just a little swirly thing. I mixed a couple of different yarns to make this green purple, and yeah, I made another little bag charm here, a little string. I don't know how secure this is on this kind of thin mohairy vintage yarn, but it looks cute, so I think it's fine. From this kind of experiment of pushing myself to not buy any yarn and just use what I already have, it definitely did it was a struggle, but it made me kind of think more creatively instead of just buying a yarn and following a tutorial, just thinking about what I could do with what I already had, even if what I had wasn't very much. But as you can see, the result is something many would think is extremely ugly, but I think it's very beautiful. So yeah, I think the key with scrappy projects is to lean into the silliness. I think that's what my advice would be for anyone wanting to do more stash busting and kind of using up their scraps. Lean into the silliness. Okay, next we've just got a couple of sort of bag extras, I guess. So what I've got here is a couple of bag charms. Got a little chocolate strawberry. And then this one is actually a pouch. I followed a tutorial for a Totoro coaster, but then I just made a second side, but just in the all grey, stuck them together, and then left the top open. Now, the strap did break on this, so I do need to fix that, but it's so cute. So I also made a couple of dice bags. Here's my first one. This one was for me, just a little kind of one to kind of carry them around, because when I'm at home they just stay in this potion bottle dice bag that I have, but if I ever need to take them with me anywhere, this might not be the most secure, so I just thought I might as well just make one kind of easier for travel. And I saw on Pinterest sort of this kind of mechanism for kind of tying it up, which I thought was really cool. So I grabbed all my kind of orange and kind of browny scrap yarns, and it's just, just super simple. You start with a circle and then you work up. I think I did I think I varied the stitches slightly. Some are half doubles and some are singles. Yeah, they're just really simple, cute, scrappy projects. I think these are really great as well if you maybe you're not a big fan of the kind of doing all the multicolours, but you've got a few scraps around that are in a sort of similar colour family. I think this is a really good like kind of mini scrap project. Next up is this. It is a little mushroom dice bag. I made this one for my partner and I really love the texture of this stitch for the mushroom stem, and the tutorial for this will be linked in the description. It is a very cool pattern and it looks so cute. And the yarn I used for this, it was the Signet Chunky in Winterberry and Cream. Alright, we're on to our second to last category. This is just sort of other, you know, the kind of things that don't really fit too well into the other categories. And the first up is this. So this is just my kind of basic art case. I originally bought it in Primark, I want to say in about 2018. I was, you know, doing art at uni and I needed something to carry my art supplies in, and it was actually like a makeup brushes case, just, you know, cheap leather, you know, Primark. And I've kept it because it works perfectly fine, but it was very ugly, so I decided to, in a lot of other people's opinion, you know, make it uglier, but I think it's cute. It's silly. I did these little love hearts here, and I did a big section here on the back of the star stitch. This is another James C. Brett marble. This one's in the colour Woodland. Yeah, it's just so quirky and funky. Got a little keychain I popped on here. I think this was originally from Fat Face. I have had it since the early 2000s. And then yeah, it's just a really great setup, carrying my sketchbook, all my different pencils. Yeah. So it's a really great way to kind of repurpose things that you already have, work perfectly fine, but maybe you're not a big fan of the look of, just make it silly with crochet, and there you go. I did also make some granny squares. My original thought when I first started the kind of stash busting projects was that I could make a bunch of scrappy granny squares, and then at the end of it maybe I'd have enough to make a blanket, but I did lose interest relatively quickly. But it was actually a really great way to get some practice in with granny squares, because I don't have too much experience with it. But now that I've started making granny squares, I want to make granny squares everything. So here's the first one I did. Now I have done this pattern before with the star. I did make a handbag earlier when I started crocheting, so this one was a relatively easy one for me, but kind of regular just basic granny squares I had like no experience with, so they're quite wonky, and I was using, you know, different weights because I was trying to make it scrappy, so it didn't work out the way I was hoping. I really love all these colours together and I have no idea what to do with it. I don't want to frog it because this type of yarn in particular is horrendous to frog. So I think I'm just going to keep it. Maybe I'll use it as like a spare coaster or something. And then I also made this one. I was very silly doing this one. I think I added too many granny square, like I did these like not just in the corner because I don't know why. So this was very, very wonky. I then added a border around it that kind of made it more square, but yeah, this, and again this was like a thin mohairy kind of very fuzzy texture, horrendous to frog, so there's no way I'm doing that. So I've just got these couple random granny squares that I can't frog, and I have no idea what to do with. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. And I also have 4 of these. This is the same yarn as the kind of butterfly bag that I was showing you earlier. I don't exactly know which colourway it was, but I have 4 of these. I was originally thinking I might have had enough to make cups for a top similar to the summer top that I made, but I didn't. I was only able to make 4. I think these actually do work quite nicely as coasters, but I also made this mini granny square, the star, that I think works well with these. And if anyone has any suggestions, kind of which ways I can arrange these sort of 4 big granny squares and 1 little one, I've been trying to play around with it. I haven't come up with anything I like yet. So again, any suggestions will be greatly appreciated. Another thing I got into this year was kind of tapestry crochets. So you saw the jumper I made, that was really fun. And then I also kind of got into a little bit the mosaic tapestry. I watched a video of Morgan Donna doing it. She made a little like medieval inspired jumper for her cat. It was so cute and I got really excited to try it. Now it was a little bit silly because I started making a tapestry and then I remembered that each kind of square of the pattern, it needs to be an odd number. It needs to be 1, 3, 5, etc. in order for the kind of double crochets to work coming down. If you know mosaic crochet, you understand. I forgot about that when I started making this piece, so my brain lost a lot of brain cells making this, but I did manage to do it. Kind of. I did have to go back in on the neck and just add a bunch of extra random stitches to kind of cover up where it went very wonky. But I know I have a Skyrim tapestry to hang up in my house. And it's cute. Eventually we do want to have a game room that's kind of very fantasy and wizard inspired. And I want my area to be very kind of dragon and unicorn inspired, so I've been doing a lot of dragon-y type things this year as well. So I've got this and then 2 amigurumis that I'll show you in just a moment. So the last couple things in this category are these pots I have to hold some of my crochet tools. So I've got this little pot here. It's just very simple. You make a circle and then you go up. However, because this has, kind of heavy things in it, I needed to kind of make sure it was more secure. So what I did is I also made the same pot in a different yarn, so it'd be double layered. And then I put a circle of cardboard in the bottom, put some rocks in there, and then put another thing of cardboard, and then put the lining in. And then this does a relatively decent job now of holding all my crochet hooks nice and secure. And then this, I've just got a spare embroidery needle there, and then all my stitch markers. And this is such a beautiful yarn. This was another sort of one in a bundle, so I don't know what brand it is, but it was all these like different threads with a couple being a different texture. Yeah, it's really pretty. And then aligned sort of the top bit of each with the same purple colour, so they look kind of like a set. Yeah, that's it for the sort of random other crochet. Yeah. The last section of items that I made was amigurumi, but before we get to that, I just wanted to show I made a teeny tiny hexagon cardigan for my Build-A-Bear. I just thought, because she's a cuddly toy, I felt like it kind of worked kind of in this category, so I just thought I'd show that. And this was another Jane C. Brett marble. I'm not exactly sure which colourway though. Next up we have this little jester guy. Again, I was inspired by a creator on Pinterest who I'll list below, with these sort of springy swirl limbs. And then I use this very fuzzy yarn for his ruff. I think that was really cute. And then I made a very silly just a hat. I put these big wooden beads, kind of little star eyes, buttons. He's just so silly. I love him. Yeah, I highly recommend making a little springy limbed clown because they're so cute. Next up is this bunny. Now I've only used kind of the plushy chenille yarn once before. It didn't go well. But I've had the rest of the yarn in my stash, so I thought it's finally time to try it again. And I made this super adorable bunny. She is very nice and soft. I did a little tail as well. Now you can see some bits of scrap yarn that I used to stuff it. So I think I do need more practice for this type of yarn and making sure kind of my stitches are tighter. But she's a vast improvement from my last project with this yarn, so I'm very happy with it. I think she turned out very cute, albeit a little wonky, but still very cute. Next up is something I made for my partner. It's this little Azumarill. I hope I'm saying that right, just a little Pokemon. And I completely free-handed this as well, so I am quite proud. He is very silly looking, but I as for something completely freehand, I'm so happy with how he turned out. This is just wire that I kind of crocheted around to make his little wiggly tail. I'm so proud, even though he's very, well, I mean, he's a Pokemon, so he's supposed to be silly, so I think it works. This is so cute. This is such an incredible pattern. It will be linked below. I'm just absolutely in love with the shapes. It's so round. Just so round. I'm so glad I chose kind of the bigger eyes as well for this. She's so cute. This is another James C. Brett marble in the humbug colour. And then I think this is the Karen Simply Soft in that Victorian rose. But yeah, I will definitely be making more of these. I really want to make it in like a really chunky plushy yarn. I think that'd be just so cute. But yeah. It's so cute. Now now there isn't a video tutorial for this. It was just kind of a written pattern that was on Pinterest, so I'll put it up on the screen somewhere around here so you can pause and have a look at it. And it's so cute. This was another random yarn. I think I actually got this yarn in a charity shop, and it's just a very kind of lightly variegated kind of cream and beige, which I think just adds a little bit of dimension to his little cute body. And then I used Karen Simply Soft in gold for the top of his head, the cap. But because the Karen Simply Soft is a little bit thicker than this yarn, he's a little bit unproportioned, but I think that just makes him even cuter. He's so silly. He's my son. He's so cute. Now, if the little mushroom guy's my son, then this is my daughter. I made a little doll of myself. It's so silly. Now, I'll link the tutorial I used for the body and the dress down below, but I did freehand the hair. It's so silly. Because I tried to make a little fringe for it. Maybe it didn't work the best, but I still think she's adorable. I really liked using a different colour for her legs so she looks like she's wearing tights. And then I just made this really cute little green dress. And last but certainly not least are my two amigurumi dragons that I made. So I made this one. This is another James C. Brett marble. Let's see, I think. Yeah, this one is in Autumn Vibes. I think kind of the variegated yarn worked really well with things like dragons. It just looks so magical. Oh, these little tootsies. I'm unfortunately the only kind of white yarn I had that was like a similar weight to the James C. Brett was Karen Simply Soft, which I don't think I will ever be repurchasing again. But yeah, he did turn out very cute despite some of the frustrations I had with the splitting, but yeah, he turned out very cute. However, maybe not quite as cute as this little guy. He's just the absolute cutest little dragon in the whole universe. He's so tiny. My son. He's just so good. So, on that note, that is everything I've made so far in 2025, just using yarn that I already had in my stash. My original plan was to continue, doing so until I literally had 0 yarn left. However, it has gone to the point where it's getting harder and harder. The yarn I'm left with, the pieces are getting smaller. They're in colours I don't like as much, or yarns I don't like as much. So I did for 6 months not buy any yarn whatsoever, purely using what I already have. However, I did break my promise to myself. But I think that's fine, because what I really wanted to do was to kind of teach myself that I didn't need to keep buying yarn. I could kind of use what I already had, kind of think creatively to kind of think of how the yarn I already had could be utilised, and also to just let the yarn itself inspire me instead of finding something I want to make and then getting the yarn, kind of doing it the other way around, which was very fun, and I did learn a lot. So I think I'm allowed to treat myself to some nice new yarn, and I did do that. I made a hexagon cardigan out of a really beautiful yarn. It's the Yarn Smith's Pebble Haze. I'll link that in the description as well. It's a really beautiful yarn, and it's actually the yarn I used to make this little guy here as well. It's a really beautiful yarn. It's a cotton acrylic blend. Yeah. So that's all that I've got today. This is my first YouTube video. I hope I did an okay job, and I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. Hopefully you stick around. Okay. Bye. Thank you for watching.